Hi, I'm Ursula Sadiq, Product Manager with Autodesk Plant Solutions. This is the first of 2 Getting Started videos on creating isometric drawings with AutoCAD Plant 3D. In this part, we will primarily review some general concepts and the interface for ISO production, including some isometric setup. At the end of this video, we will create a quick ISO. With AutoCAD Plant 3D, you can create annotated and dimensioned isometric drawings based on your 3D models. We will start by noting 2 important aspects of pipe modeling that impact the generation of successful ISOs. The first is line numbers. It is important that pipelines are assigned line numbers because they provide a means of selecting what is included in an isometric drawing. The second thing I want to mention related to modeling is connectivity. Components must be connected, otherwise they will be split out into separate ISO drawings. Connectivity problems are also the biggest reason for errors when generating isometric drawings. Looking for the water droplet symbol on the model can help you identify connectivity breaks. Now let's have a look at the Isometric Drawing tab of the Project Manager. This tab includes all the production isometrics created for a project, and you can see that some ISOs have been already created for this particular project. The drawings are nested within types. I'll take a moment now to describe the 3 default ISO types included with AutoCAD Plant 3D. First, we have check ISOs. You create check isometric drawings to make sure all necessary components are represented in the model. A check isometric typically has extra details used for verifying part data, info that may not be needed for fabrication. Next, we have final ISOs. Final isometrics are the key deliverable documents that you create from 3D piping models. You typically produce final isometrics during the last stage of a project. These drawings include bills of materials and are used for fabrication and construction. The last type of default ISO type included with AutoCAD Plant 3D is stress ISOs. Stress isometrics are drawings that convey geometric data pertinent to stress checking. Typically, you create these isometrics only for pipelines requiring stress analysis, such as high-temperature lines, lines with larger sizes, critical service lines, or high-pressure lines. You are not limited to just these 3 ISO types. You can add additional customized ISO types in Project Setup. In Project Manager, we can display the isometric drawings grouped by line number, or just as a list. We can change the display to group them by drawings by clicking the icon on the Isometrics tab. And we can switch them back to being grouped by line number by clicking that icon. The other thing I want to show you is that in the Isometric Drawing tab, you can access shortcuts to ISO creation tasks. For instance, if I want to generate a quick ISO or production ISO, I could right-click on a line number and select that option. I could also export the selected line number to a piping component file for a stress engineer or pipe fabricator. The next item of interest for isometrics in AutoCAD Plant 3D is customization. This is done in Project Setup. You can generate ISOs without changing any of the default isogen settings in a project, but if you want, you can customize your project settings in a variety of ways. Some of the settings you might wish to customize include create custom ISO types, linking to a line designation table or LDT, changing the display of dimensions and sloped line styles, changing the display of annotation labels, and customizing the title block. Customization will be covered in greater detail in the Getting Started video on managing projects in AutoCAD Plant 3D. Now let's take a quick tour of the ISOs tab in the AutoCAD Plant 3D ribbon. Briefly, we have a Quick ISO button. A Quick ISO helps you check lines in your drawing. You can check all or a few of the lines either by selecting them from a list or by windowing them in the drawing area. These ISOs are not kept as drawings of record, and they do not become part of the project documents accessible from Project Manager. Quick ISOs are useful for diagnosing problems with connectivity and checking your work. Next, we have the Production ISO button. You create production isometrics when you're ready to create final deliverable drawings for all lines in your project. We will cover this more in ISO's Part 2 Getting Started video. Here we have the Isogen Messages button. This opens a dialog box where you can specify the contents of isometric notes and annotations that pertain to your piping model. These messages are included on the generated isometric drawing. This is the Isogen Information button. This opens a dialog box where you can create floor symbols, flow arrows, location and breakpoints, and then place these symbols on your 3D models. These items are displayed on the generated isometrics drawing. Let's go ahead and create a quick ISO using the shortcut menu in the Project Manager. We right-click the line number under the check node and select Quick ISO. The resulting dialog box indicates which line number the ISO will be created for and provides the opportunity to indicate which field changes will break the ISO. We can also set an option of overwriting previously generated Quick ISO files. Pressing the Create button, the Quick ISO will be processed in the background. When the processing is finished, a balloon notification will allow us to check the details and access the drawing. Clicking on the link in the Isometrics Detail dialog will open up the isometric. We'll take a moment and zoom in on this isometric, looking at some of the details on the graphics. Notice the labels are applied according to the style set up in Project Setup. And also, this isometric has a detailed bill of materials, as again specified by the check ISO style. This wraps up Part 1 of isometrics. I encourage you to watch Part 2 of isometrics, where we explore production ISOs and demonstrate how to add isogen messages and information items to the piping model. Thank you for watching.